Hello and welcome to Kenzo Codeplay. So today we'll be developing a React analog clock. So before we get started, um, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And let's go. So as you can see, I've already created the class or the function for analog clock, and I've already imported it on the app. So to get started, what we are going to do is we'll be just having the defining the three hands of the clock. So we'll have the hour, minute and second hand. So let's do that. So it's just gonna be three doves, and then class name, hand, and then we'll just call this one hour, and then we'll call the other one minute, and we'll finally have the clock, the second one. And then we'll also need a center point, just so we can center our hands. So that will just be a dove. We'll just give it a class name of center point. So our devs will be empty actually. So and then so obviously we have to define or get the time, the current time and all of that, like how we did with the digital clock. So to do that, we'll have date and all of that. So let's define our time first. New date. And then we'll use effect to just set the time to the current time every other second. Just make sure it's updating, constantly updating. There we go. Timer ID, is equal to set interval new date. Want to make sure that is updating every other second. And then we wanna make sure we clean up clear interval. So now that we have our time and all of that, now we have to calculate the angles for each and every. No, let's just make sure it's displaying. Well, it has nothing to display, so otherwise let's just make sure we have the angles. So obviously they'll be facing different angles depending on the seconds, minutes and hours. So let's define those first. Get seconds, get hours, get minutes, and we just have to give these different class names, variable names. Now that we have the time, well, the seconds, minutes and hours individually, now we have to, set them like in degrees. So how we do that is we say for seconds is second hand angle. So we'll call the seconds and we'll say times, just times 6. So what that will do is it will, for every 360 degrees, it will, move the seconds hand for only 6 degrees. And then we'll get the minute hand angle is equal to minute times 6 plus the second and then times 0.1. So yeah, for every minute we'll just be rotating the hand 6 degrees, and then our hand angle, our modulus 12. And then we'll take all of that, say times 30 plus minutes times 0.5. So what that will do is it will take our 60 degrees divided by 12 hours, and then obviously that will just give us 30 degrees per hour. With that being done, now what we have to do is just make sure each and every one of these hands, the doves, are rotating accordingly. So we'll just use inner HTML styling for that. So there will be style is equal to transform and then we'll just call rotate. Obviously that's the styling. Rotate by is it, and then obviously we have to call the our hand now. Hand angle. We'll just do the same thing for all of these other stylings or these other doves. But give it a minute. Hand angle for this one, and then second hand angle for this one. I think that's it. So nothing is displaying as of yet because we don't have any styling. So let's work on the styling. For the styling itself, we'll start with the body, just center everything and all of that. So we'll display flex, justify, align, and all of that. Center as well, and then we'll just set the height so it's a maximum height. So height 0, view height, and then we don't even need a background color at this point. And then we'll now work with the clock itself. So the clock class, which is in caps, and then for the clock we'll just give it a width of the same width, same height, and then just give it a border with 250 pixels. Let's do that. Height 250 pixels as well, and then border, we'll say border, let's try 4 pixels, solid black, and then we'll give it a border radius just to make it a bit circle. Border radius 50%. This will make it circle, and then position, we'll just position it to a relative position, and then we don't need a background color. Let's see. There we go. Now we have a now we have our clock centered and all of that. Let's now look at the individual hands. So we'll define hand each, since we already have 2 different classes for each hand, so we'll have this universal hand class and then the hour, minute, and all of that, so we can individually style them. So let's start with the hand itself. Dot hand, and then for the hand we just want to do a width of 50% for now. And then the height, let's try 2 pixels, and then we'll just give it a background color of black. I'm not even sure if we need these because I'm thinking we'll individually style them. And then the position for this, we want it to be absolute for each and every hand. And then what we want is now to center it, top 50% and then left 50% as well. And then we want to transform it from its origin. Zero by 0%. And then transition, we want to make sure it transforms, like a smooth rotation for the hour and the minutes. but then obviously for the seconds itself we'll just transform it its own way so that you can visually see that the seconds are changing. Transition, 0.5 seconds is in out. Oh man. Perfect. Let's see. So now you can see that we have the hands, but they are all facing the same way. So, or rather, they all have the same styling and all of that. So now we'll individually style them. Let's start with the hour. So for this one, we'll give it a width of 35%, and then we'll just give it a height of 4 pixels, and then the background color of black. Keep it simple, even though we already defined it there. See, as you can see now, the hour is a bit shorter and a bit thicker. And then now we can define the minutes. And I don't think we need these. Yeah, we don't need this. So let's define the minutes. Minute hand, we'll just give it a bigger width so that it's a bit taller. Let's go for 45%, 10% difference. And then height, do we even need to define a height? No, let's leave it like that. And then what next? The second. Second will have a bigger width, obviously. So 50%, 10% difference, for 5% difference for this one. And then we'll just give it a different background color so it's clear. Red for now. And then remember we said we're gonna have a different transition for this one. So transition none, so that you can see it visually change. Perfect. Let's do something. Let's hide the seconds for now. I just want to make sure that the minutes are appearing. Perfect. And then what do we have to do now? Now we have to define the center point. Center point, what are we going to do with it? Just width, height, and all of that, the usual. Pixels, also 10 pixels, and then just give it a background color of black, and then we'll give it a border radius of 50%. Just make sure it's circle. Position is absolute, and then we want to center it now. Top 50%, and then left 50%. And then we want to transform it. Translate it 40%. Perfect. So as you can see now, we have the center point. I'm having a bit of a problem. Okay, let's see. Let's just debug what's going on here. because it doesn't seem like, you know, it's moving. Oh, I know, I'm missing degrees here. Yeah. Such a simple thing can cause such a headache. There we go. Finally our clock is moving, and yeah, as you can see, it's a bit rotated. Otherwise, since the time on my end is like 20 past 9, and this is not displaying correctly, so I think I need to, you know, kind of transform it and rotate it. Otherwise, I know how to do that. How I'm gonna do that is I'm going to transform the clock class 90 degrees. Rotate degrees. It's not 9 o'clock. Let's try it again. Perfect. That looks like 20 past 9. It looks perfect actually. This is too empty, guys. I wanna, you know, add some numbers there just so we can see where 12 o'clock is and all of that. So to do that, I'll be, you know, obviously if you don't want, you can just, you know, not add them at all, but for my own visualization I am going to add them. And then for that, what I need to do is define them first of all. Obviously for this I'm going to just use the h2 tag, and then 12, and then we'll just have a class name here, 12. Let's just copy that, paste it like 4 times, and then we'll have 12 3, if I can spell 12, 3, 6, 9, 6, 9. So we have those. They are not obviously displaying correctly. Now we have to work on the styling. For that is a pretty, you know, since we rotated this whole clock, we're gonna have to work with the inverted digits. So left will be top and top will be left. So let's start with 12 o'clock, or rather let's start defining maybe digits. Let's give these so the styling, that's the same, we keep it the same and just, you know, style it once and be done with it. So for digits we'll just give it a position of absolute, and then transform it so that it rotates. Obviously it's 90 degrees this time, and then we'll just give it a font family that we kind of like. Monospace, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's it for this. Let's just make sure all the digits are rotated before we, yeah, looks like they are rotated. And then let's start with 12. Let's make sure we just position it correctly. So top, what are we going to do with top? Let's start with maybe 40 degrees, 40% actually. So you see, it kind of looks like it's centered, but I don't think it's centered. Maybe I want the dot like right in between the 1 and the 2. So let's just decrease this a bit. So 35%. Let's see. No, I think 40 was a bit bad. And then now we have to put it on the top. Like I said, the position is now inverted, so top will be left and then left will be now top. So for left, we'll just want to move it a bit, like 90%, because we don't want it on top of the line itself. Let's see how this looks now. Nope, I think the 35 degrees would work better here. Perfect, I think it's perfect. Let's just copy this. No, this will be different for every other one, so no copying for now. And then let's work with 6, since it's the one that's exactly, opposite of the 12. So 6 will just deal with the top part. So 35%. Doesn't look centered, man. Let's try something, a number that's a bit different. Perfect, 38%. What will happen if I put this on 38% as well? It looks centered. Yeah, it looks centered. And then we want to start now working with the 3. So for 3, let's start with top again. We'll give it maybe 90%. So that will move it either left. I think it's out of the clock now. Let's give it something like 85. Maybe it's in between. I don't know, man. Let's give it maybe 83. Yeah, it looks way much better. And then let's go for left. 40 something degrees, I don't know, because we don't want it. Let's try 50%. It's not centered, so maybe let's decrease this some more. So yeah, this looks a bit centered. Now we just left with the 9. Let's copy the left, since it's the top one. It looks centered as well, and then we'll just have to do the top now, just to make sure it goes to the left a bit. For that, we'll just work with negative numbers now. Let's say negative 15%. Yo, that's a bit too much. Let's try 10. It looks perfect. So yeah, guys, that's the analog clock, and yeah, took a bit of time, but hopefully you guys managed to follow through. And thank you for watching up until this far. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment down below. Just tell me where I can improve and what I can do next. Thank you.